Good morning. My name is Joshua Farr, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Institute for Sustainable Industries and Livable Cities within Victoria University, supervised by Professor Tim Nguyen and Gabriel Sorrento. Today, I'm presenting my research proposal for ROP 8001. The central question driving this work is, can we intentionally develop self-efficacy, motivation, and belonging in university students from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and in doing so, help more of them stay enrolled and succeed at university? I'll take you through 5 areas in the next 12 minutes. First, the problem and why it matters. Secondly, the theoretical grounding and my research question. Third, the method and design. Fourth, the contributions this study aims to make to knowledge. And finally, why this study is feasible. Let's begin. The problem. The Australian Universities Accord of 2024 sets an ambitious national target, increasing the proportion of Australians aged 25 to 34 with a university qualification from 45% to 55% by 2050, and raising overall tertiary attainment to at least 80% of the workforce. To achieve this, the Accord is explicit. We need more students from disadvantaged backgrounds to not only enter university, but to complete it. This includes students from low socioeconomic backgrounds, as well as Indigenous students and students from regional and remote areas. The policy ambition is participation parity. The research problem I am addressing sits directly inside that ambition. The retention data makes the scale of the challenge clear. Students from low socioeconomic backgrounds persist and complete at a rate of 78.7% compared to 85.7% for non-equity students. That is a 7-point percentage gap, representing thousands of students each year who begin a degree and do not finish it. Critically, research tells us this is not primarily a matter of academic ability, it is the product of structural, social, and psychological barriers. Structurally, financial pressures drive these students into casual employment and caregiving responsibilities that compete with study. Socially, they experience weaker connections to faculty and peers. And psychologically, they report lower self-efficacy, reduced motivation, and a diminished sense of belonging. These 3 psychological factors are where this study intervenes. The consequence of attrition operates at 3 levels simultaneously, and this is why the problem demands a research response. At the individual level, non-completion is associated with reduced lifetime earnings and narrower career pathways. At an institutional level, performance-based funding directly ties retention rates to university revenue and reputation. And at a societal level, lower completion among equity cohorts represents lost human capital, reduced workforce productivity, and the reinforcement of existing socioeconomic divides. As Green in 2018 asks, is a win-win-win scenario viable where the individual benefits, the institution benefits, and society benefits? This study is designed to generate the evidence needed to answer that question. My primary research question is, to what extent does participation in a structured personal development workshop program covering topics like goal setting, time management, growth mindset, and networking improve retention outcomes for low SES university students? I have 2 sub-questions. The first asks about the impact on academic success measured through GPA, and the second examines how the mechanisms of belonging, self-efficacy, and self-determination relate to changes in those outcomes. These questions are designed to move the field beyond description towards causal understanding. The literature provides a strong foundation. A systematic review by Nguyen and colleagues published in 2026 and synthesizing 66 peer-reviewed studies identifies sense of belonging as a central mechanism of student persistence. 6 recurring themes emerge from that review: academic engagement, connection with faculty, social inclusion, social engagement, personal growth, and contextual factors. Alongside this, isolated intervention studies on time management, growth mindset, and resilience have each shown some positive outcomes. The evidence base is promising but fragmented. No study has brought these elements together in a single, theoretically integrated, scalable program. And this is precisely where the literature stops. Most existing research is correlational and descriptive. We know what predicts retention. What we don't know yet is how universities can actively engineer the conditions that produce it. Mentoring and supplemental instruction programs have shown promise, but they're resource intensive and difficult to scale. Critically, there has been limited integration of social cognitive theory and self-determination theory into scalable intervention designs, particularly for the low SES cohort. This is the gap this study addresses. The theoretical framework brings together 2 complementary bodies of work. Social cognitive theory, developed by Bandura in 1977 and built on in 1989, centers on self-efficacy as the engine of action. Belief in one's capability to succeed can be developed through four mechanisms: verbal persuasion, social modeling, emotional regulation, and mastery experiences. Self-determination theory, from Ryan, Cool, and Deci, identifies three fundamental psychological needs of competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Where these needs are met, individuals engage more deeply, persist longer, and perform at higher levels. The workshop series is designed to activate all seven of these mechanisms within a structured 4-week cohort experience. The logic model is straightforward. The input is a 4-week personal development workshop, 60 minutes per session, delivered in person, peer to peer, on campus. The workshops activate the mechanisms outlined before. The outcomes of interest are student retention, measured through re-enrollment after the census date and in the following block, and academic performance measured by GPA, with an optional employability strand. Validated instruments will be used for each mechanism, including the General Self-Efficacy Scale, the Self-Regulation Questionnaire for Motivation, and the University Belonging Questionnaire. The study adopts a two-stage mixed methods approach. Stage 1 is formative and qualitative. Stage 2 is evaluative and quasi-experimental. This sequencing is deliberate. The first stage ensures the intervention is grounded in the lived experience of the target cohort before it is tested. The quasi-experimental design in stage 2 allows for causal comparison between groups who participate in the workshops and a matched control group with baseline measures and statistical controls to address selection bias. Data collection extends from pre-intervention through to 12 and even 18-month follow-ups. In stage 1, I will conduct semi-structured interviews and focus groups with low SES students at Victoria University. The aim is to understand the specific barriers they face at different points in their student journey and to use those insights to refine the workshop content, timing, and structures. This phase also generates a replicable process for tailoring future interventions to other equity cohorts, which is itself a methodological contribution. Stage 2 delivers the intervention. The treatment group attends 4 60-minute personal development workshops over 4 weeks, covering the topics outlined. The control group attends a match series of general university information sessions of equivalent duration. Subject to sample size, 2 optional additional streams may be tested: an online delivery model and an asynchronous self-directed content condition, allowing assessment of whether facilitated instruction is necessary or whether independent engagement with the content produces comparable effects. Recruitment will draw on institutional data to identify approximately 2,000 low SES students at Victoria University. All eligible students will be contacted directly, and the existing Kickstart program will provide an additional pilot pathway. A pre-survey will establish baseline data on self-efficacy and motivation prior to group allocation, and randomized control group selection will minimize selection bias. Data collection is comprehensive across quantitative and qualitative domains. Quantitative outcomes measures include re-enrollment rates and GPA sourced from the university with participant consent, and employability indicators assessed at 3, 6, and 12 months via incentivized follow-up surveys. Quantitative mediator captures changes in self-efficacy, motivation, and sense of belonging. Qualitative process data includes per-session feedback and end-of-series reflections, which will illuminate the mechanisms at work and allow for a dose-response analysis comparing partial versus full participation. The timeline runs from baseline pre-survey through to an 18-month follow-up. Pre-retention and GPA outcomes will be assessed within 1 year. Employability data will be collected across 3 to 12-month intervals. This longitudinal design is responsive to calls in the literature for intervention-based research that can trace both short and medium-term effects. Ethical considerations are embedded throughout. Participation is voluntary in both arms, with full informed consent. Particular care will be taken with the equity cohort involved, including awareness of mature minors in first-year cohorts. Workshop scheduling will be informed by the qualitative phase to reflect the real commitments of low SES students, including shift work, caregiving, and travel. All recruitment and follow-up communications will operate through Victoria University's existing student infrastructure. The study aims to make 5 distinct contributions to knowledge. First, a methodological contribution. A quasi-experimental mixed methods intervention design is rare in this field and directly responds to calls from Newen and colleagues for more rigorous causal designs. Second, causal evidence. This study will provide empirical data on whether a structured intervention actually moves the needle on retention, not just correlates with it. Third, mechanism insight. By measuring self-efficacy, motivation, and belonging as mediators, we can understand how and why the program works, not just whether it does. Fourth, a scalable model. If effective, the program offers a cost-efficient template universities can implement within existing systems. And fifth, transferability. The theoretical foundations are relevant to a broad range of equity cohorts, including first in family, regional, remote, students with disabilities, and more, opening pathways for further research. Since 2017, I've personally delivered over 1,600 workshops across more than 40 universities. In 2026 alone, our team has helped recruit over 1,300 students to participate in these workshops. The content of each of the four workshop topics has been delivered, developed, and iterated over nearly a decade, including specifically tailored for low SES students through the NALM Scholars Program at the University of Melbourne. Victoria University's promotional support, combined with the Kickstart pilot pathway, substantially reduces the recruitment burden and maximizes the likelihood of a sample large enough to generate meaningful results within the PhD timeline. To summarize, this study sets out to do three things: to test whether a 4-week theory-informed personal development program can causally improve retention and academic success for low SES students, to explain how and for whom it works through the mechanisms of self-efficacy, competence, autonomy, relatedness, and belonging, and to translate the findings into a scalable, evidence-informed model that universities can adopt within existing systems to support a range of equity cohorts. The underlying question remains the one that opened this presentation. If students believe they can succeed, are motivated to succeed, and are supported to succeed, will they succeed? The research is designed to find out. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.